Okay, buddy.
I got whiplash this week.
Flash.
Too many Trump tacos
Yeah, we got a couple of them this week. That's for sure.
on my neck.
Seems like markets don't really even care anymore. I don't know. I don't know if
Well, do they? Well, they seem to.
they react.
Because,
They react, but I
right?
mean, yeah,
Yeah. I think we're heading in that direction. I'd like to see that day.
yeah.
I'd like to see the day when the markets don't care about what Trump says. Because then
Well,
I
I
can
mean,
stop thinking about what Trump says.
I just
Maybe.
I'm just getting sick of reading. You go through the headlines every day, and it's still. I mean, it's been like this for years. Half the headlines have the word Trump in it, if not the first word, right? So it just gets tiring.
Mhm. Just talking about it like this is making me feel exhausted about the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the week, the markets finished higher and oil lower. It was a volatile week, right? Whipsawed again with the war. The back and forth. Are we going to have a war? It was. I guess where I was saying earlier that the markets don't really care what he has to say anymore. Wasn't it earlier this week he was back to full on there. We're gonna send him back to the Stone Age kind of threats again. Not those exact words, but he was saying the strikes are back on. They're gonna go after the energy or go after the infrastructure. They're gonna take over the oil, Iran's oil infrastructure, take over the oil industry. If these guys don't smarten up and make a deal, and
Yeah, we're gonna strike them every night.
yeah, and then
And then one
talk
day
me
he
out of it.
said, and then one day he says, no, we're not going to do that.
No, he says no. The talks are going well. It's so stupid because he's like, no, the talks are going well. After threatening that there's going to be a new wave of strikes, they took down that helicopter. All hell's going to pay, and then threatening a new wave of strikes, and then he tweets again that a deal is coming, right? That they've basically agreed to a deal. I think even Pakistan came out and said that a deal has been reached, and then Iran comes out and is like, yeah, these are the terms of the deal, and it's all stuff that Trump doesn't agree to, and so then Trump comes out and says it's all fake news. So what's fake exactly? That there's a deal, or the what the deal specifies? I mean, it doesn't seem like we're any closer, right? I mean, from your perspective, does it seem like one side's conceding, or they're getting to like some middle ground?
We're nowhere close to a deal. I mean, all of this kerfuffle in the last week or two or three has been about a memorandum of understanding to get to a deal.
You're right.
So it's like they can't even agree on a framework. They're still bombing each other
Yeah.
while they're trying to figure out a framework in which they can talk.
So why does the
So
market eat it up? The market laps it up like it's like it's good news. I mean,
I'm puzzled. I'm puzzled by it. I'm puzzled by why the market puts any faith in what Trump says anymore. I mean, the media's out there, pointing out that he's been saying that we're close to a deal like 38 times since February or
oh
whatever
yeah,
it is.
yeah, no, for sure. I was even just looking at past headlines.
38, 38 times. I mean, how dare that fucking guy call anything else fake news? The only thing the only news that's fake is the news he delivers.
Oh yeah. Or what about him calling the Iranians dishonorable for the fake news, specifically because they according to him put out fake news. They're
Yeah,
dishonorable.
but it's honorable to bomb them while negotiating.
Yeah, I know. And like that, that's something that bothers me too. This whole negotiation thing, because the public's kind of kept on the sidelines. Yet the whole freaking world has a vested interest in the outcome of these dealings, right? And all these negotiations, they're all behind closed doors. Like we can't know what's being said, and we've just got to trust what these politicians are saying when it's clear they're just playing games. And so it's like you start to wonder whose perception is being manipulated. Are these politicians trying to play games to manipulate the other side so they to get some leverage in the negotiations, or are they trying to manipulate the public's perception of what's going on, or is it a bit of both? I mean,
Probably a bit of both. But when it comes to Trump, I think he just makes it up as he goes along. I don't even know. I don't even think there's a strategy with anything he says. He just fires off the cuff.
do you think there's a strategy from him to if the markets are getting a little anxious over the war, that he's got to like ease that a little bit?
Well, I think I have noticed. Excuse me, not smoke while I'm doing the podcast. But the thing I've noticed is he's in the latest things I've seen, latest spots I've seen him on camera. He's sort of promises that oil prices are going to come down and gas prices are going to come down. You're going to see when the strait reopens, you're going to see a whole bunch of supply. And I think that's a change from like maybe 3 weeks. Time is all over the place for me in terms of perceiving what's been happening, because
It's a bit of a blur, right? It's just this back and forth. Like where are we? It's like Groundhog Day, right? Round and round we
right,
go.
right. But he's noticed. But you remember when when they asked him about oil and gas prices, and he said he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't
So
care. It's about
there's
winning
a
the war,
shift.
right?
But now he does. Right now he's sort of promising that those prices will come down. So I think that this guy is very disconnected, but I think some realities are getting through to him about what's going on, and so he's probably trying to deal with that. He must be feeling pressure about his tribe losing faith in him.
Yeah, midterms coming up, right?
Yeah, I mean, he can't be that stupid that he's, and we can't be that off base that to be misinterpreting it. That no, it's it can't be the case that he hasn't lost any supporters, right? I mean, that's just not the reality we're seeing, right?
Yeah. No, I
That's
would.
all.
I just read a stat or something, a survey that 70% of Americans want out of this war. Like they're over the war. I mean,
Yeah, but when they switch it, when they focus in on the Republicans, it's a higher or it's a lower number
sure,
that one
sure,
vote.
yeah.
But still, I mean, it's got to be obvious that he's losing support. It can't be just, we can't be that wrong about that from the reality that we've seen. So
Yeah, no, I mean definitely is.
whether he should be, he's not obviously not a sensitive man, but he should be starting to feel that somewhat, I
Yeah, but
think.
then he keeps doing all these like fucking outlandish things. I mean, they're neither here nor there to our investment strategy, but
Yeah.
it just kind of shows that like I don't like why is he just stirring up so much shit? Whether it's the whole debacle with the reflecting pool, repainting that thing, and it's just a waste of money. He didn't really do anything, or him building that ballroom, or doing that UFC fight on the front of the White House.
There's so many absurdities with
So
this.
many, or building that arch thing that he's building, like.
Yeah.
But he's being criticized by everybody for all of these things, and they're just stupid things. It's just like he just does whatever he wants, and but
Yeah.
it's the stuff with these wars.
Yeah.
It's funny too that interview he did, right? I think what was the last weekend with NBC, and called the interviewer stupid or something like that because she was questioning him on. I thought you said in your campaign no new wars, right? And he tried to rationalize that somehow.
Yeah, he said that he meant that no new endless wars.
Because this war isn't endless? Or no,
The
because he thinks
wars,
this war's ended, right? This war's
well,
ended.
yeah, the
Right? Didn't he
wars,
say that? That's why he doesn't need the Congress approval because it's not a war anymore. There's a
right,
ceasefire.
right.
Right.
The wars he starts, he finishes.
Yeah.
He finishes. He's a finisher.
Yeah, sure. Well, I
George
mean,
George
the
Bush
oil
was.
market, the oil market seems to think the war is over, though, right? Oil
Yeah,
prices ended at a 3-month low, right?
I wouldn't say that though, Mike. Everybody forgets that we're still quite
Elevated.
higher than we were last year
Yeah.
in oil prices. So you could look at it from the other point of view. It's like, well, what's keeping oil prices up? Well, we know the answer to that, right? But we also know that they've been capping oil prices with supply out of the reserve, and we know that commercial inventories have been drawn down.
Yeah. I
You
think
know,
at I think the OCED inventories at lowest levels in like 20
OE,
years, 2003.
yeah, OECD, yeah,
Yeah, the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve, multi-decade low.
yeah,
Tons of articles talking about the reserves being drained. Although it
yeah.
was interesting, I think Germany came out today and said that we don't need to drain the reserves anymore. I'm not sure what that was all about. Europe did drain a whole bunch of their reserves, though.
Well, what that probably was about is that at higher prices you're going to have less demand. So that's another thing people forget is given the strong shock in price, that's destroyed some demand.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
That's why we have fluctuating prices. Is in one, not only just signals to producers, but signals to consumers. and consumers, take higher prices to ration, right?
Yep.
Not everybody needs, at a certain price, there's a certain level of consumption, but at higher prices, you might find that some people will say, well, maybe I don't need oil, I don't need my oil or gas that bad this week, or I can substitute it with solar, or I can, substitute it with diesel or something, right?
Yeah, anyone who was kind of on the fringe, in their evaluation of how important that oil is, if it starts getting more expensive, it just might not be worth it anymore, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So that makes sense what Germany says. We should, if there was true demand destruction, they wouldn't need to sell too much out of their strategic reserves. But it seems weird. That seems out of step with everybody else, though, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It was just an odd headline to read today. So I don't know, like maybe are they jacked up on hope too that this thing's gonna resolve? Because I was looking into it a little bit, and it was almost like, well, there's costs involved in refilling these reserves, and if you do think everything's just fine, you wouldn't keep draining them, right? So I don't know. Are they living off of hope too?
Germany?
Yeah.
Or maybe they've just decided not. Maybe they've decided that their strategic reserve is too valuable to keep selling. That's not a lot, right? Like that covers up, that obscures the sell-off that we saw in the Dow and the NASDAQ on Friday, Monday, and Tuesday, right? So on the week, the Dow, for example, is up 0.66%, but that's after being down and up like a pair of horse panties. Yeah, so it was kind of a weird week. It was we went into the weekend thinking the worst, and then and Trump was like, and there, like we said at the beginning of the podcast, the bombing was ongoing, even while they're like, we're in talks. I just had a chat with the Supreme Leader. He's on board. Meanwhile, they're exchanging bombs while they're having these chats. Apparently, I doubt he's chatted with the Supreme Leader at all.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think so either.
The guy just lies. He just lies. He just says anything to pacify the people listening, I guess is the way to say it.
Yeah. So what do you think about the?
Just a disgusting creature. Disgusting creature. It's shameful that libertarians fell for this guy. Really shameful.
Yeah, I just Mike, I just hope it. I really feel strongly that Trump is going to go down with his ship at some point. I feel like he's going to be one of the most hated people in history, and it's just I don't want his legacy being attached to libertarian.
Oh, I don't think it will be. He's too far away from libertarianism. Like almost nothing he does is libertarian.
Well, no, I know, but it's just the fact that he was able to enamor the libertarian, a lot of the libertarians, initially, it's like, so yeah, they got to reject him. They got to reject him and say he never was a libertarian,
That was in the days when he promised tax cuts, eliminate the income tax. I mean, just more lies. Just lies. This fucking guy. If I was within punching distance, I'd punch him.
It's like, liars are going to be liars. It's just, it's crazy to me that the people that just keep believing the lies. I think that's the more shocking thing. Like, at what point you just write off.
I'm also shocked at the nerve of him, being able to lie like that every single day and come out as if he thinks he's on his high horse.
Yeah, yeah. Where he talks condescending, right? Like when interviewers or whatever, challenge him, he just takes that arrogant, condescending approach, like you're a fucking retard. And we're like, no, they're actually calling you out pretty good.
Yeah.
But if he can keep that bravado up, right? His supporters who are too dumb to maybe think about what's being said will just be like, oh yeah, Trump got him.
So what happened in commodities this week? What do we got here?
It was kind of they were mostly down. Everything was down. Yeah, copper had a little bit of a gain. Oil obviously at the bottom. Gold and silver were having a bad week. They kind of pulled it up a little bit at the end. I think silver was actually up, but they did make lower lows. I think you noted.
Copper has been really resilient, hasn't it? It's really right up there at its highs.
Yeah, almost at all-time highs. Yeah, holding in there.
It's the only commodity really. Mm-hmm. You had gains in cocoa, coffee, palladium, silver, and wheat on the week. But, cocoa is bouncing off a 1-year low, basically, where it's down 70%. Coffee's bouncing off a 1 year low where it's down basically 40%. Palladium is bouncing off a same thing down. It's bouncing off a 6 month low, call it, where it's down about almost 50%. And silver is bouncing off the low end of its trading range, which is down 50% from its highs too.
Yeah.
That's remarkable, actually.
Yeah, it really is pulled back.
Yeah, and and wheat also is. So all the commodities that were up this week are just like they're bouncing. They're just really small, bounces, 1 to 3% on the week, the gain, but the bounces off of marked lows, right? Oil, platinum, sugar, natural gas, they're all down on the week quite a bit. Oil was down about 7% on the week. Well, what can we say about that? In an environment where bond yields keep going up, where the Fed is not inflating.
No, and no expectations for that either, right?
Yeah. One thing nobody's talking about is the new Fed Chairman Warsh's plan to shrink the balance sheet.
Yeah, no, it's actually been pretty quiet with him in the headlines at all. I mean, and considering that next week's is kind of like first time on, as chair making a decision, right?
Yeah, first time up to bat.
Yeah.
But when you read about his plan or what he'd like to do ideally, it makes no sense to me. He wants to shrink the balance sheet.
Yeah, go ahead.
He wants to shrink the balance sheet, and he wants to encourage an expansion in bank credit, in particular the buying of treasuries.
Okay.
That's been going on since 2008. Half of the expansion in bank credit has been the banks buying treasuries, increasingly after 2020.
So there's nothing new with his plan.
Well, there might be. He might want to encourage more buying of government treasuries by the banks, but Christ, that would be very bad advice. You're basically incentivizing the banks to. They're already loaded up. I think I'd have to go to their. See this? So this is the basically the assets and liabilities of all the commercial banks. If you look at it in the aggregate, okay, and these are just their annualized inflation numbers for each category. But in terms of outstandings, okay, you can see bank credit is almost at 20 trillion. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Treasury and agency securities are already 25% of that.
Yeah.
Okay. And 25% in one, basically, from the point of view of from the banking business, 25% of your credit goes to one customer, and it's a bad customer. So, is that wise advice? Is wise policy? Is it wise policy for the central banker to incentivize more accumulation of bad debt? Because that's what it is. It's that this what's going on with the government's debt. We're up at $40 trillion now.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you looked at that balance sheet if you looked at that balance sheet and thought of it as a private going concern, you would never invest in it.
No,
never.
No.
If you look at tax revenues as revenues, and you look at expenditures as expenses, a business that runs a deficit every single year, so they lose money every single year, and all they do is keep piling on the debt, right? So you want your banking system to they're already 25% exposure to this one bad customer. You want them to invest more in this. It's not wise, and I don't think it's achievable. So there's no way he's going to be able to shrink the balance sheet without shrinking the money supply. So, and I haven't seen anybody discuss this, but any attempt to shrink the balance sheet is just going to be beyond the runoffs that are automatic.
What do you mean?
Well, like the short-term treasuries that mature.
Yeah.
If you just let them mature without replacing them.
Yes.
Right. Then that will shrink the balance sheet slowly. Well, actually, probably quickly, because I think most of the Fed's treasury holdings are short-term maturities these days.
Yeah. No, they are. Yeah.
Well, they're less these days than they used to be. I've got to correct myself, because before 2008, they only bought short-term treasuries. But they're also in recent years they've been more concentrated in the short term again, and so if they let those ones mature, you could see the balance sheet shrink. But if that happens, the money supply is going to shrink. You're not going to be able to, because unless you offset that with, get this, are you ready?
All years.
Gold revaluation.
Oh yeah.
So if they revalue the gold reserves that they hold on behalf of the Treasury, then
Did that come up in the news again? I felt like it went nowhere, right? The whole Fort Knox audit. Didn't that come up in the news recently? Kind of drawing a little blank. I think it did. After not talked about for months and months and months.
I haven't seen it myself, but it
Yeah.
could have. It might have. But I haven't seen it myself.
Definitely old news. It's like, and again, another thing, everyone was just so like, oh, Trump's the greatest. He's going to audit Fort Knox. And it's like, he doesn't. And then nobody calls him out for it.
Yeah, all of these things that I think he deregulated the fishing industry a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I heard that everybody fishes our oceans but our own people, but now our own people could fish our oceans.
Yeah. Everyone's taking advantage of the U.S. And
Yeah, everyone's taking advantage of the
everyone. Trump's the hero.
Yeah. So the news this week, inflation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The CPI and the PPI. How did they?
I mean, they came in as expected, but hot. Like, it's hot, right? We're at multi-year highs. Was it 4.2 annualized?
I believe that was it. I believe so. Just trying to get a chart for us. Yeah. So this is the annualized, is it? And this is the headline rate. Okay. The core inflation rate year over year, advertisements, up at 290. Let's look at 5-year period. So they're coming off the bottom, right? But these are core. This is the core inflation rate, which should be below 2% according to their inflation targets.
Yeah, so it's too high. I mean, and then you got basically, so many central bankers coming out this week. It's similar to past weeks. Concerned about the inflation and hinting at or threatening, or however you want to interpret it, hiking rates. And then the ECB did hike rate this week as telegraphed, so
Right.
it wasn't too big of a surprise. But you've got all these other central bankers making the same claims, but where you're not really hearing it from is the Fed, right? You're not really hearing much from the Fed. I think the last time I checked, so they make their decision next week, and I think the odds are like 95% for a hold or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So why do you think? Do you think that divergence makes any difference? You got the ECB, you got Lagarde, just inflation, right? And then you don't really hear anything from the States. Does that make a difference on any of this?
No, what it does is it explained partly why the dollar was so weak this week.
Yeah.
Right.
It lost to most of the crosses, lost to the euro.
Yeah. So if we look at currencies, where's the U.S. dollar here, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to tell here. The Canadian dollar underperformed it, and the Swedish krona underperformed it. But and it's even hard to tell here.
I think the euro gained on it. I think the pound gained on it.
Yeah, it was just this little decline here.
Yeah.
Right.
It was up last week, right? Like it was up on all the crosses the previous week.
Yeah, this is a daily candle chart, so I believe that was that game there was Friday, June 5th. Yeah. So on Friday it roared up here on Friday because of the stock market collapse, right?
Yeah.
And the fear of a re-escalation, right?
Yeah.
And then it weakened because it always weakens whenever Trump talk goes. But I think the ECB rate hike also might have day. I remember that day. It was you can see a little red candle in there. I think that day was affected by the ECB rate hike. No, it doesn't. It doesn't really make much of a difference. It's just that it's just so unnecessary. Because if we were in a free market system where you had sound money and one price went up, a price of some commodity or good went up that as much as oil had, It could only do that. You cannot have, in a system like that, you cannot have rising prices year after year after year after year after year, generally across the board, unless the value of that money is falling. But if it's a sound money, it's a good money, and its value is not falling, then when you have a price shock like you do with oil, then the signal is just glaring, and entrepreneurs and capitalists will just shift their resources from the production of whatever goods prices are falling, because some would actually have to fall, for oil to rise in a scenario like that. And so you would just take your resources, it's not as if there's one person making all these decisions, right? So you'd have entrepreneurs who follow the signals in that market.
Yeah.
Reallocate resources that are reallocatable to the production of oil, more production of oil and less production of the other stuff, and prices would eventually work themselves back out.
Correct me if I'm wrong. It's kind of like a similar mechanism to like arbitrage, right? Like if you have a situation that an unbalance occurs, no?
No, it's more arbitrage doesn't count. It doesn't offset. Arbitrage is a concept where you're taking advantage of
a discrepancy, right? Which is why I'm kind of saying, if the oil, were to surge up, it kind of creates opportunities that, the market or entrepreneurs kind of they see it just in the same way, someone that does arbitrage.
You could look at it that way, yeah. I guess you could look at it that way. Sorry, yeah. Probably, yeah. It's not really conceptually arbitrage, but you could look at it that way.
Just that the market is looking like entrepreneurs are looking for those type of opportunities, right? And if an opportunity emerges, there's going to be people jumping on it, and then once they do, then things rebalance, right?
Yeah. But in the current system where we're pricing these things in terms of government fiat, and the supply of that fiat increases ad infinitum, then when one price goes up, it almost works as a catalyst for the other prices to also go up, right?
Yeah.
And at the very least, you won't have as much of an arbitrage opportunity, if you want to put it that way. Not much as much of a discrepancy. The discrepancy is less than it would be otherwise.
Yeah.
Even though oil went up, say it doubled. Not every commodity doubled, but the other commodities would fall more in a environment where money was sound and not so elastic, if you will.
Yeah. And the signals all get distorted.
Right. And so to counter that problem in a government fiat world, the central bank committee decides to increase the policy rate of interest, the one that it manipulates.
Yeah.
And
rate.
Right, and that affects once they start doing that, then that affects other things. Not it doesn't correct the imbalance in oil. It corrects the imbalance in the asset boom that they created by suppressing interest rates. So in a normal world, the market would fix itself. In this planned interventionist world, one problem creates another problem.
Yeah. And then the solution to the problem is just another problem in the making, and just around and around and around we go.
Yes. So,
what do you think about the crypto markets this week?
With that said,
what do you got going on here?
No. I was just gonna show the yen. Looking like it wants to come off the bottom here. Something.
A little bit of a bounce there. I mean, it's just been clobbered for the last few months here.
Yeah. But you see the clobberings are less and less. You see you got a pretty big move here.
Yeah.
Then when it went to this lower low, that didn't last. It was reversed. Then it went to this other lower low, and it was even a lesser of a move, right? So you see the thrusts are getting shorter on the way down. Is basically what I'm Just trying to point out there.
Well, I think I read a headline today saying that the Bank of Japan is considering raising rates the highest in 31 years, and the BOJ's got their rate decision next week. So do you think that's supporting the yen right now?
Yeah, and I think also the market is very aware of the bank, not the Bank of Japan, but the finance ministry's interventionism in currencies. So every time the market see these big spikes, that's basically the finance ministry intervening in the foreign currency markets to prop up and so every time it approaches this level, I think 150, if you look at the reverse of the numerator and denominator, quoted as a US dollar cross. And every time it reaches that level, the traders have been conditioned to expect intervention. So some of it may be rate hike expectations, some of it intervention expectations, but for the moment, the US dollar looks fairly strong.
Yeah. It's firm.
And we'll see how that goes. Am I still sharing? Interesting. Yeah. So, and then of course we've been told that the Fed is now concentrating on a super core price index.
Yeah, I saw something about that. Super core, super gay.
So they have to eliminate every price that goes up.
So did you look into it? Like, what's it stripped down to? So it's less, right? It's smaller bucket than the core?
I haven't looked into it. Yes, it's a smaller bucket, and I think it takes away housing costs.
Housing, isn't that like your number one cost in life?
Yeah, right. Food, take away food, energy, and housing costs.
Yeah. What else do you spend your money
What
on?
else do you spend money on?
90% of my budget.
Right.
We fixed inflation.
I mean, it's just so absurd to think that, these grown men and women, they go into work every day thinking that this is actually something that should be factored into their deciding of interest rates. And it's just absurd. It's absurd. Super duper core index is next, and that index will include no prices.
Yeah, no prices. Just whatever they want you to think the inflation is.
There's just no pressures, no price, no inflation whatsoever. You can't prove it. Right. So
super duper core.
So I think that's all we've got for you this week. Let's wrap it up because I think we're getting a little bit long in the tooth probably.
Yes. Until next week.
Yeah. All right. Over and out, everybody.